Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Why do so many people never make it past 80 years old? Why is it that in a world of technological miracles, modern medicine, and more information than we can process in a lifetime, we're still losing people too early? It's not just about genetics. It's not just about luck, and it's definitely not about age. Age is a number, but quality of life, that's a decision. Most people don't die at 80. They just stop living at 40 and wait. They retire from their dreams. They check out on their health. They stop moving, stop growing, stop evolving. They give up the habits that kept them strong, and they pick up the habits that slowly kill them. Most people assume that the body declines simply because of age, but that's only part of the story, and it's the smallest part. The real culprit is the loss of discipline. The truth is, the body doesn't fall apart because the calendar turned another year. It falls apart because we stopped doing the things that kept it strong. We stop showing up for ourselves physically. We stop moving. Think about how children live. They're in constant motion, running, jumping, stretching, falling, and getting back up. Their energy isn't magic. It's movement. Somewhere along the line, adulthood taught us that rest means sitting still, when in fact rest is most effective after exertion. When we abandon daily physical movement, when we stop walking regularly, when we stop stretching, when we let our muscles shrink and our joints stiffen, the body doesn't take a break. It begins to shut down. Muscles weaken, not because of age, but because they aren't used. Joints ache not only because of wear and tear, but because of inactivity. The heart loses strength not simply because the years go by, but because it hasn't been pushed, hasn't been trained, hasn't been exercised. Discipline was the engine behind the strength. And when discipline exits, decline enters. People say things like, I'm too old to go to the gym, or I can't exercise like I used to. And that may be true. You might not be able to lift what you used to or run the same pace. But the goal isn't to compete with your younger self. The goal is to maintain function. The goal is to stay in motion. You don't need to lift a barbell over your head. You just need to move your body with purpose every single day. Take a walk, stretch your spine, breathe deep, do bodyweight exercises. Use resistance bands. Movement is medicine, and discipline is the prescription. Let's be real. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not flashy. It's not easy. But discipline is what keeps your joints mobile, your heart strong, and your body balanced. And that's what keeps you independent. That's what gives you the power to tie your shoes at 85 without help. That's what gives you the ability to play with your great-grandkids, carry your own groceries, climb stairs, and dance at family reunions. The reward for physical discipline is dignity. But discipline doesn't just keep the body moving, it keeps the identity strong. Because when you stop taking care of your body, your confidence erodes. You start believing you're fragile. You start seeing yourself as someone who can't. That mindset is dangerous. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You stop moving, you feel weak, and then your weakness becomes your new normal. You want to live long? You want to live strong? Then don't stop. Adjust, yes. Scale down if needed. Take longer breaks. Be gentler with your joints. But do not quit. And do not quit. If you can walk, walk. If you can stretch, stretch. If you can lift something, lift it. The discipline to move every day, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, isn't about vanity. It's about vitality. There's no magic pill to living past 80 with strength and grace. But there is a process, and it starts with choosing to honor the body, not once a year with a resolution, but every single day with discipline. When you stop moving, you send the signal that you're done. When you keep moving, you tell your body and your brain, I'm still in this fight. The human mind is one of the most powerful tools ever created, yet it's also one of the most neglected as people grow older. There's a dangerous misconception that mental decline is just a natural part of aging, something that happens to everyone and can't be avoided. But that's only true when people stop challenging themselves. The brain, just like a muscle, thrives on resistance. It needs to be worked, pushed, and stretched in order to stay strong and sharp. The moment that resistance disappears, the mind begins to weaken, not from age, but from lack of use. In the early years of life, learning is constant. Kids are immersed in new experiences, new words, new ideas, and new environments. Their brains are always adapting, always forming new connections. But for many people, as soon as they graduate from school or settle into a career, the learning slows. Then they retire and it stops completely. They fall into routines. They watch the same shows, talk to the same people, and think the same thoughts. And that sameness becomes the mental coffin. The mind does not stay young by accident. It stays young by staying curious. When you ask questions, when you explore new ideas, when you engage in conversations that stretch you, your brain responds. It creates new neural pathways. It keeps growing. But if you stop feeding it, it starts pruning itself down. It begins to conserve energy, to forget, to dull its edge. That's not aging. That's atrophy. People think protecting their brain means avoiding stress or hard thinking, but that's not true. Real protection comes from use. Solving puzzles, reading books, learning a new language, playing a musical instrument, writing your thoughts down. These are all acts of mental resistance training. They force the brain to engage, to adapt, to stay alive. It's not about becoming a genius. It's about becoming engaged. You don't have to master quantum physics, but maybe you take up painting. Maybe you read history books. Maybe you sit down with your grandchild and let them explain their favorite video game to you. It's not what you learn. It's that you keep learning. The tragedy is that many older people start labeling themselves as a too old to learn. They say things like, my memory just isn't what it used to be, or, I can't keep up with all this new technology. And when you repeat that enough, you start believing it. But what if the memory isn't fading because of age? What if it's fading because it's not being challenged anymore? The brain wants to be used. It wants to remember, to problem solve, to engage with new and unfamiliar things. Another critical piece is who you surround yourself with. If you only talk to people who agree with you, who think like you, who reinforce your current worldview, your brain has nothing to wrestle with. But when you talk to younger people or people from different backgrounds, you start seeing the world differently. You build mental flexibility. You get exposed to new ideas, and those ideas keep your brain alive. Even simple things, like switching up your daily routine, taking a new route to the store, or cooking a dish you've never made before, can stimulate the mind. Every time you do something new, your brain has to work. And that work is what preserves it. Mental youth is not about age. It's about engagement. It's about challenging the brain to stay active, to stay flexible, and to stay curious. The moment you stop learning, the moment you stop stretching your thinking, is the moment your mind starts to slow down. Not because it has to, but because it was told to. Bitterness is a quiet killer, and far too many people carry it around like a badge of honor. They hold on to old wounds, betrayals, regrets, and disappointments, thinking they're protecting themselves or maintaining some sense of justice. But in reality, they're poisoning their own spirit. Emotional toxins are just as harmful, if not more, than physical ones. You can eat clean, exercise daily, and take all the right supplements. But if your heart is heavy with resentment, it will weigh down your health, your mind, and eventually your body. As people age, they collect experiences, some joyful, some painful, some painful. But what makes the difference between someone who thrives in their later years and someone who deteriorates is how they process those experiences. Bitterness is often rooted in unresolved pain. It festers in silence and grows stronger the longer it goes unchecked. And the body keeps the score. Chronic stress from holding grudges can lead to high blood pressure, insomnia, digestive problems, and a weakened immune system. It can literally shorten your lifespan. More than that, bitterness warps your worldview. It distorts how you see people. It convinces you that the worst parts of the past are destined to repeat themselves. It makes you suspicious of kindness, cynical about hope, and isolated from connection. You start believing that life has already given you its best, and what's left is just waiting out the clock. That mindset is a death sentence. Not all at once, but slowly, year by year. You ever meet someone in their 70s or 80s who's always smiling, always encouraging, full of joy? They've been through things too. Life hasn't been perfect for them. But they made a decision not to let bitterness build a home inside of them. They chose peace over grudges. They chose to see the good in life instead of obsessing over everything that went wrong. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's emotional wisdom. That's Letting go doesn't mean you approve of what happened. It doesn't mean the pain wasn't real. It means you are no longer willing to let that pain control your future. Forgiveness isn't always about the other person. Sometimes it's about setting yourself free. Carrying emotional pain for decades is exhausting. It drains your joy. It steals your presence. It dims your light. People often think aging is about physical decline, but the emotional weight many people carry is a far heavier burden. You can see it in their faces, in the tightness of their expressions, the bitterness in their tone, the heaviness in their energy. And you can also see the difference in someone who has chosen joy. They smile more. They laugh easier. They sleep better. They live longer. That's not just coincidence. That's freedom at work. The irony is that the very emotions we think are protecting us, anger, resentment, pride, are actually the chains keeping us stuck. They age us, they harden us, they make us brittle. But joy is flexible. Joy is healing. Joy is energy. And joy is a choice. It's not the result of perfect circumstances. It's the result of a heart that refuses to stay bitter. You want to increase your chances of living past 80? Pay attention to what you're holding on to emotionally. Bitterness is silent but deadly. It slowly suffocates hope, and when hope dies, so does the will to live. Don't let pain from the past rob you of peace in the present. Let go, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Because peace is the real anti-aging secret no one talks about. Purpose is one of the most underestimated forces behind longevity. People often focus on diet, exercise, sleep, and medication, and while all of those things matter, purpose is the fuel that drives everything else. Without a sense of meaning, the will to live starts to fade. And when that fades, the body follows. You can take care of yourself physically, but if your life lacks purpose, if your days feel empty, you're not truly living. You're just surviving. One of the most dangerous cultural beliefs is that retirement means the end of productivity. That once you stop working a job, you stop contributing. That belief has robbed countless people of vibrant, meaningful years. They've given up on what could be because of what has been, and that decision to stop chasing something greater is what begins to age the soul. Look at children. They're curious, energetic, always looking forward to the next thing. Why? Because they expect something better is coming. And they believe that the future holds more, but somewhere along the way, we're told to be realistic, which often just means a stop dreaming. And with that, life shrinks. The joy, the wonder, the drive, it all starts to fade. But here's the reality. Just because your youth is behind you doesn't mean your impact is. Just because some dreams didn't happen the way you expected doesn't mean you have nothing left to give. The people who live with fire well into their 80s and beyond are the ones who refuse to believe their best days are over. They keep showing up. They keep setting goals. They stay curious. They stay open. It doesn't mean they don't feel tired. It doesn't mean they haven't faced pain or failure. What it means is that they made a decision, consciously or not, to keep living. They didn't let the story end early. They didn't hit pause on growth just because society told them to slow down. They kept stretching. And that mindset alone is what separates a long life from a meaningful life. You can see it in people's eyes. Some 40-year-olds are already done, and some 80-year-olds are just getting started. It's not about the number. It's about the inner decision. It's about whether or not you've made peace with mediocrity or you're still reaching for something greater. It could be learning a new language, starting a business, picking up an instrument, mentoring a younger generation, traveling, or writing a book. Anything that sparks life. Anything that brings back that sense of forward motion. Forward motion is everything. When people feel like they're moving towards something, they feel alive. When they don't, they wither. The body may still be functioning, but the soul is checked out. And once the soul checks out, the body eventually follows. That's why the people who live the longest with the most vibrance are the ones who never stop striving. They keep learning, giving, growing, and reaching. They understand that living isn't something you do in your 20s and 30s. It's something you commit to all the way to the end. You weren't meant to just coast. You weren't designed to hit a certain age and fade away. You were built to evolve, to expand, and to leave a legacy. And that only happens when you refuse to quit while you're still breathing. Longevity isn't just something that happens to a lucky few. It's not some genetic lottery or a random stroke of good fortune. It's a result of daily choices, small decisions repeated over time that either move you toward life or away from it. Too many people think living past 80 with energy, clarity, and strength is a matter of fate. But the truth is, it's a matter of intentionality. You don't stumble into a long, fulfilling life. You build it. You design it. It starts with the way you think. If you believe aging means inevitable decline, you'll subconsciously start making choices that align with that belief. You'll move less. You'll eat with less care. You'll challenge yourself less, and your life will shrink accordingly. But when you believe that your best years can still be ahead of you, when you understand that you are the architect of your health, your mindset, and your vitality, you begin to treat each day as an investment in your future, not just a reaction to your past. People who live long and well don't just do what feels good. They do what builds strength. They wake up and make decisions based on vision, not emotion. It's easy to hit snooze. It's easy to grab what's convenient. It's easy to let the days blend together. Sure, but easy choices rarely lead to extraordinary outcomes. Longevity is built on deliberate discomfort, choosing movement over stillness, vegetables over sugar, stretching over scrolling, growth over familiarity. It's not about perfection. It's not about being the fittest or the cleanest eater or the most disciplined in every single moment. It's about direction. Are your choices stacking life or are they subtracting from it? That's the real question. The body responds to patterns, not isolated decisions. A donut won't kill you, but a pattern of neglect will. Skipping one workout isn't the issue. Giving up on movement altogether is. What matters most is what you repeat, and it goes beyond the body. Longevity isn't just about physical health. It's emotional, mental, and spiritual health too. Are you feeding your mind new ideas? Are you keeping your heart open to love, forgiveness, and new relationships? Are you tending to your spirit with gratitude, with service, with moments of stillness and reflection? These things aren't optional extras. They are part of the formula. The people who live with strength past 80 don't wait for life to be perfect before they enjoy it. They choose joy in the middle of hardship. They choose growth even when it's uncomfortable. They choose love when bitterness would be easier. They don't live reactively. They live intentionally. They understand that every decision is a vote for the kind of person they're becoming and for the kind of life they want to keep living. One of the most powerful shifts anyone can make is to stop asking, how long will I live? And start asking, how well can I live? Every day for as long as I've got. Because the truth is, no one knows the number of days. But we do know that the quality of those days is shaped by what we do with them. Longevity is not a finish line. It's not about simply extending life, but about expanding it. It's waking up with energy. It's remembering what matters. It's being able to play with your grandkids, walk without help, carry your own groceries, speak your mind clearly, and contribute meaningfully. And none of that happens by accident. It happens by design. Your life doesn't just lengthen when you make these choices. It deepens. It becomes richer, fuller, more meaningful. You're not just adding years to your life. You're adding life to your years. And that's the kind of legacy worth building.